The brain is fascinating. I mean, of all the things that we could possibly study within medicine, the brain is definitely the most amazing organ, and having the opportunity to think of ways to understand its function and dysfunction is something that I always found extremely interesting. I describe myself as a academic researcher with a clinical kind of interest. My training has been as a psychiatrist, but my research has always been on the biological end of psychiatry, primarily using neuroimaging, different modalities, to try and understand the association between behavior and brain structure and function, both in health but also in disease states, with emphasis primarily on psychotic and severe mood disorders. I have to admit that I like my research very much. I find that being the most enjoyable part of my job because it has challenges, but it also has great rewards in terms of giving you a sense that you're contributing to new knowledge and that you are generating information that could be potentially useful in improving clinical outcomes. So it's the intellectual challenge, the intellectual curiosity, the problem-solving part, and also the interaction with different types of technology like brain imaging, computational analytical models and so on, that I find particularly appealing. Many aspects of medicine, we have a better understanding of the mechanisms, and we have pretty much kind of prescribed guidelines as to how we can treat different patients. We don't have this within psychiatry as much, although we are improving tremendously and at a very great pace. But this aspect of discovery, this aspect of being able to produce new knowledge and carve a pathway towards treatment that is not already established is something that I always found quite interesting. People come into psychiatry from two different pathways, and it depends on the individual how they choose their own pathway. So that one pathway has to do with being very interested in the personal stories of the patients, in understanding the subjective component of having a mental illness, the way it affects the individual and their family, and focusing very much on the clinical delivery of care. And another pathway is the pathway that is mostly through clinical or basic or translational research, because psychiatry does offer a very wide range of possibilities in terms of engaging in research at multiple levels, from the very, very basic that has to do with genes and so on, to the much more complex that has to do with brain systems. And sometimes a combination of both is what people think is unique about psychiatry as a career choice. So psychiatry is one of the specialities that is traditionally favored by women. So there are many women that come into psychiatry at the sort of junior level, either as a clinical trainee or as a research trainee. Over time, we see sort of what is traditionally called the leak in the pipeline, that although there are nearly equal and sometimes higher number of women early on in the career pathways, as you go further up, you see fewer and fewer women. My suggestion is that women should be clear about what they want to achieve within psychiatry, and if what they want to achieve is to move towards leadership positions in psychiatry, then they have to be very clear and plan for that in a very sort of pragmatic way. I think the two things I would suggest is often women have a sense of guilt over not doing more traditional sort of feminine sort of tasks about nurturing children, looking after families and so on, and they find it very difficult to leave out some of this caring behavior to favor their career. And I think abandoning the sense of guilt and embracing that all of you is, or everything that you do is part of your life and who you are as a person. The second thing that I think is important is that sometimes women are very task focused while men are doing more networking. So women, we just sometimes put our head down and we think we have to be perfect in doing one particular task, and somehow people will see how wonderful we are and they will appreciate it, while men spend a bit more of the time telling people how wonderful they are. And so a shift towards doing the tasks, of course, and being very competent and so that, but also letting people know in an assertive, not a grandiose or inappropriate way, but making people aware of your achievements and making people aware of the things that you have accomplished and you're good at, and connecting with different people within a network is equally important, and something that sometimes is neglected by women. Of course, women are not all the same, but if we just kind of take a very collective kind of thinking type of approach, sometimes women have a sense that perhaps they are not good enough, and their level of self-doubt about their abilities is much higher than in men. And this is holding them back, which goes back to the issue that we discussed about putting yourself forward, that it's a little bit more difficult for women than for men. How this could be changed, I think just with behavioral exposure. You just get to do things and you see that they're going well, and you do a bit more, and you continue along this way. Another very important thing for male or female people is to find somebody that believes in you and can support you at the early stages of your career. Having somebody who is a mentor, not just in name, but in a meaningful way, and believes in you and sees your potential. And this sort of reassurance is particularly, I think, helpful for women to help them believe in themselves a little bit more, and sort of see a future for them as they move forward with their career over the years. So there's some type of advice that suggests that maybe you should have 3 people around you. Somebody who is a good and honest friend and will always tell you the truth, and their opinion will not have a bearing on your career. They don't have the power to stop you or promote you or anything, but they are a sort of a good and honest friend that you can go to them as a sounding board in difficult times. The mentor sometimes is considered the person that will actually help you with the logistics of what you're doing, explain to you how to do X versus Y, help you write a grant or whatever. And the sponsor is the person that will vouch for you within a meeting, when you're not present, and will kind of promote your career. What one would be looking for is an individual or a group of individuals, somebody that you trust to help you with your skills development, and somebody who you think you can trust with your career development, in terms of being the person that will think of you when opportunities come along. But the most important thing is to have meaningful relationship with your mentors rather than nominal relationships. Ask yourself, is this a meaningful relationship? Does this person really fulfill the role that I think they should be playing in my life? I joined the society very many years ago, when I was myself a junior academic. And one of the things that I think is generally valued about the SOPP, not just by me, but other people that have joined the society, is how much emphasis it puts on promoting the careers of junior academic or early career scientists and clinicians. It's a very welcoming space. People can freely express their ideas and interact in a very constructive way with more senior colleagues. It's very open and very inclusive as a society. The meetings are always of very high quality, and they include many activities that can promote career development. For a junior scientist, that's important, and it has definitely helped me in sort of putting together my own kind of networks and making lasting friendships and collaborations that have supported my career, but also personally, friendships that have supported my life through the years. So that's what I particularly value about this society. Within SOPP, I have the honor of being the president for the 2025 annual meeting, who also happens to be the 80th anniversary of the society, so it's a very special time to be a president. The reason I found myself in this position is, of course, a reflection of sort of the recognition from colleagues about my contribution to the society over the years. But what I find particularly rewarding in taking up such types of responsibilities is the ability to shape the future of a society like the SOPP, and to influence different aspects of the society's function to assist with its mission, which is the dissemination of scientific findings, promote collaborations, promote the careers of early psychiatry. So the ability to continue at a more systemic level within an organization is something that is particularly appealing with leadership positions in general. Different people kind of find different things challenging as they move forward. If I were to pick one thing, is time management. It's very difficult sometimes to fit everything into a 24-hour cycle. And sometimes you wish you could clone yourself or that the days would get longer somehow. But being very structured and very sort of disciplined and sticking to being disciplined has definitely been one of the main challenges, especially as the number of activities and the number of responsibilities increase over time. There are many different pathways to success, and people define success in many different ways. But from my perspective, there are three important things: is perseverance, the ability to stick with a particular task and move forward even when you face challenges, and there will be many of those in any career. The second point is to put yourself forward. Sometimes people are very passive or think that it's very difficult for them to reach out to experts or other people that they want to work with, and they hold back. And my suggestion is that to do the complete opposite, because most senior colleagues would be very interested and they would find it very rewarding to work with junior colleagues and to find that junior colleagues are interested in their work. And the third tip is to make a clear distinction between wishing for a particular future and planning for a particular future. In every human being, there will be somebody above you and somebody below you. That's a universal truth. So I think comparing yourself to others all the time is not even particularly kind of helpful. And that's where having a plan for yourself is very important. And to say, for example, my happiness, for me to be a human being that is content as a whole, I have to have this, this and that. That's me. Whether some other person has a different recipe for success and happiness, up to them. So direct comparisons all the time is not particularly helpful. And also within the trajectory of one's life, sometimes you're ahead of the game, sometimes you're a little bit behind. So it's part of the entire journey. And people should think about life as a journey that has a few bumps, a few good high points, some low points, and that it's all part of life. It's important to sit down with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I want to achieve? What types of things would make me happy and lead to a fulfilling professional life? And then plan the steps that will make that a reality for you. So perseverance, putting yourself forward, and having a plan are my 3 tips for success.